This king kills a shaver every week because he had a sharp horn on the top of his head to keep his secret from getting out. The king rewarded the shaver by pushing him into a cave. For this reason, he sent men to catch the shaver every week. Since none of them came back, everyone was afraid. Today, the king's soldiers came back to the village. The king's soldiers came to the village again. The boy was chosen. The boy's mother cried, but she was powerless to resist. Before he left, the mother made him 3 pancakes. Soon the boy was taken by the soldiers to the king. After the soldiers left, the king handed the boy a knife. He took off his hat, and there was a long, sharp horn on his head. The boy was immediately startled, but after all, he was the king. He had to go to work. The boy was young, but he was more skillful than any barber. Soon he had the king's head shaved perfectly smooth. The king took the big knife and looked at it. He was very pleased with his haircut today. As a reward, he told the boy to go to the chest and get the gold coins, and said he could take as much as he wanted. But the boy opened the chest and found it empty. The king took the opportunity to push him into the chest, until he watched the boy get caught in the hole. The king was satisfied and closed the chest. Fortunately, the boy didn't die. He looked at the bones piled up on the ground. The boy was terrified. And then, just then, a huge figure was writhing in the pile of bones. A 1,000-year-old boa constrictor came out of it. The boy took out his swona from his bag. He started to play it. A beautiful melody. The boa constrictor couldn't help but twist and turn. In order to make the python send him away, the boy took out a piece of cake from his bag. The python ate it and found it very tasty, so he agreed to the boy's request to help him leave the cave. The boy said goodbye to the python and walked into the forest. But before he could walk a few steps, a hungry wolf came out of nowhere. In a moment of desperation, the boy climbed the tree behind him. In order to subdue the wolf, the boy played the oboe again. The wolf became softer and gentler. It danced to the music. The hungry wolf danced for hours. Finally, it couldn't dance any longer. He fell headfirst into a tree and knocked the boy down. The hungry wolf's stomach growled. The boy knew what to do, so the second piece of cake came in handy. After eating the pancake, the wolf no longer wanted to eat the boy, so he left the forest with the boy on his back. It was getting dark. There was a cabin not far away. He wanted to stay there for the night, but what he didn't know, that this was where the cannibalistic witch lived. To lure the boy in, the witch disguised herself as a kind woman. Then she welcomed him and warmly. As soon as the boy sat down, the witch cast a spell and put the boy in the pot. She was going to eat him. Before he died, the boy pleaded with the witch. He wanted to play his last song. Looking at the fat on the plate, the witch granted his request. The sham was played and the whole place was in a frenzy. Everything danced with the witch. They danced from evening until midnight. The witch was exhausted. She took off her magic cloak, and immediately she turned into an ugly witch. The boy slipped away, but the witch stopped him. The boy took out his last piece of cake and handed it to her. The witch removes her coat and gives it to the boy. The boy puts on the coat and becomes a 3-year-old. Before he knew it, the old witch pulled on it. The boy was back to his old self again. The old witch turned him inside out and put it on the boy. The boy becomes an 80-year-old man. This is a great treasure. The boy had a plan. He became an old man. He went to the king's castle. The guards stopped him. The old man explained. He was hired by the king to cut his hair. The guards took him to the king. The king gave the old man a dagger. He asked him to cut his own hair. After the haircut, the king did the same thing again. He told the old man to go to the chest and get the gold coins. The old man lifted the lid and shouted, "Why are you giving me so much gold and jewelry? I can't spend it all." When the king heard that, he immediately ran to check. The old man pushed the king inside, but the king grabbed the old man's beard. In the nick of time, the old man took off his magic clothes. The beard disappeared in an instant. The king was finally punished. He fell into a cave with no bottom. The soldiers outside the door heard something. They came quickly to check. The room was empty. The only thing inside was the empty, open chest. While the soldiers were checking it out, the boy sneaked out. He wore a magic cloak and became a child, and left the castle with a big strut. At the end of the story, the boy went back to his hometown, and from then on, people didn't have to be afraid anymore, because the king with the horns on his head, and he was a meal for the python.